Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with round 6 of season 3 of the Williams Road to Glory career mode. You can tell I've been far too used to saying season 7 of the My Team career mode. But yes, today we return though for our second race in 2 races actually. Of course, if you missed out on the video yesterday where we went to the Monaco Grand Prix, definitely recommend going back and checking out one of the most dramatic finishes I've had on F1 2021 though. But today, we head back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and the Canadian Grand Prix. Often a track that I've absolutely loved, often a track that we've done pretty well at as well on the F1 games, and long may that luck and fortune continue on F1 2021. But as always though, massive thank you to all of you guys for the continued support. 50k is right around the corner now. It is just absolutely mind-blowing the support you guys have shown over the last few days. We've smashed through 49k, and yeah, like I said, we are not far away now from that 50k target. So who knows what we're going to be able to achieve before F1 22 releases as well there. But yeah, like I said, if you missed out on the Monaco Grand Prix last time around, I would highly recommend going back and checking out, because there will be spoilers in just a moment. But so far, so good. I feel like I'm sort of repeating myself a lot in recent episodes. We still can't do any more upgrades. I've got no idea when the team are going to bring more facility upgrades. You can see we're hanging on to P3 over on the vehicle performance chart, but Red Bull and Mercedes have certainly still got a little bit of a margin. Championship-wise, though, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez tied at the top, 94 points apiece. We're 34 back there, so a little bit of a margin at this stage of the year there, but still ahead of Hamilton and George Russell, and that means Williams currently sat in a nice safe P2 in the Constructors' Championship. But I mean, either Red Bull would only be 5 points away from leading the Constructors by themselves. But yeah, Canada though, like I said, often a good track for ourselves. Fingers crossed that luck can continue this weekend, because we've really got to try and push Red Bull. We've got to get our elbows out if we want to stay in this title fight. Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like. Well, qualifying day then here from the Canadian Grand Prix, and naming more and a more iconic duo on F1 2021 than Canada and changeable conditions. I think it's going to be one of those sessions where being on a run right at the very end is going to make all the difference here, but we may as well just go out for a couple of sighting laps on the intermediates nonetheless there. Free practice went really well. Feel like again this, should be quite a good track for the car. The top end speed seems to be playing into our hands this weekend. I kind of came to the conclusion last time around at Monaco that maybe this car was actually much better suited to the low speed stuff, so we get very close to the wall. I think we just grazed it through the chicane there, but I think by the looks of it we did get away with it. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping, the high speed circuits as well, Mercedes power in the back of this thing, and just generally the way F1 2021 works, it seems to just not quite give you the same sort of downforce levels as a lot of the other cars. But Raikkonen goes fastest on a 19.1. Like I said, we did make that little bit of a mistake there, and we are struggling a little bit. I'm running quite a rearward brake bias, and that's not really sort of suiting us in the wet too much. Sorry, quite a forward brake bias even, and that's not really tending to suit us in the wet. It is completely set up for dry conditions, which hopefully we'll see by the end of qualifying, and we definitely will in the race there, as Daniel Ricciardo now goes fastest. Bit of a lock-up there. Slight clip off the curbing through the final corner. Bottas goes even faster. Up towards the line, though, we go purple by a tenth of a second.
So far, well done.
But track is constantly evolving, I think. And look at this then, by the end of qualifying, the track it is completely bone dry now, so we're going to try and let as many cars by as we possibly can here, because we want to be the very last car, if possible, going onto a run. I think anyone back to that second Mercedes is probably about to start their run, or perhaps all these guys are finishing them, but I mean, yeah, no one else has really gambled it earlier on in the session, so everyone now is going to be going for last-ditch attempts here. Effectively now, This is a one-shot qualifying session, but 30 seconds left on the clock as we get down in towards the final chicane then. And let's try and get the best run out of the final corners we can. And let's go then here for a lap of the Canadian Grand Prix circuit. You can see we haven't actually dropped down the order much, so we're definitely going to see a lot of times improving over the next 2 minutes. But we've got to be quick but careful here. There's a lot at stake as Kimi Räikkönen now goes fastest on his set of dry compound tyres there. Through the chicane we go, though. Don't clip the wall this time around. We're just going to be watching the times. But really, it's pretty much irrelevant
to P10
at the moment, as we're just going to be plummeting down the order to hopefully rise right back up to the very top by the end of qualifying there. 4 seconds up as we get out of the first sector here. Braking down nice and tidy and attack the curbs through this next chicane. So we're not really going to know what the delta's looking like until we're heading out of the final corner. But so far, yeah, we're absolutely, of course, green everywhere at the moment. 7 seconds up now as we head out down the back straightaway here. Normally you get quite a fierce headwind in real-life races around this venue, but down in towards the final chicane then, we are down to P17 at the moment. We just need to try and nail our run through these final 2 corners, and that's exactly what we've done there. Get on the curbing nicely on the exit, up towards the line. Though where are we going to be? Only P5, I think, in the end there, so not uncompetitive, but I really did wonder whether pole was going to be on the table today, but apparently not.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Verstappen, Perez and Valtteri Bottas. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Well, there we go then, qualifying done and dusted, and once more it's a Red Bull front row lockout. This time around, though, only 700ths of a second between Checo and Max Verstappen there, but Mercedes on a fight back, locking out the second row of the grid there, so P5 was all we could muster up. I think if we nailed the lap, yeah, we definitely could have been right there. But George Russell's struggling again. They're actually tied with Charles Leclerc for lap time, but just could only nestle himself up inside the top 10. But Canada, strategy can always be interesting. A very, very high chance for safety car here. Let's dive into it then here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super, super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
Hello and welcome to the Ile Notre Dame once again for what promises to be another incredible Canadian Grand Prix at a fiercely competitive circuit, where pole position can often be decided by less than 1/10 of a second. With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula 1 calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average lap speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Let's have a chat about Williams. There have been some tweaks to the power unit regulations, of course, and I have to say it doesn't seem, so far at least, that they've been able to keep up.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Mr. Monaco and Sainz, Ricciardo, Norris, Leclerc and George Russell, Gasly, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll and Ocon, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, and Guan Yu Zhou, and Mick Schumacher, Latifi, and Nikita Mazepin. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Right, well here we are then on the grid, ready for the Canadian Grand Prix, and the first thing I've got to make sure to do today is not underfuel the car by too much. That was a heartbreaking lesson to learn on the most historic of road races. But, yeah, Canada though, like I said, interesting strategy here. Always one of the only 2 stops on F1 2021, and a very, very high chance of safety cars as well here. 2.5 laps under on fuel though. We might have to micromanage it a little bit towards the end, but fingers crossed we're going to have enough in the tank here today. But listen to the crowd in the background. I don't genuinely think I've ever heard anything like it on F1 2021 here. But we need a good start as we head down towards turn 1. We need to try and get in with the Mercedes. Fingers crossed they can try and sort of get in the way of Red Bull as well. So, you know, we're going to have to be trying to work with Merc, I think, throughout a lot of the season here. But waiting on those 5 red lights here for the Canadian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go. Or away I don't, apparently, because I just did not respond to those lights as we head down towards turn 1. Daniel Ricciardo is immediately going to crash into Carlos Sainz there as the AI tend to go a bit brave in through that first corner, and that's going to mean Ricciardo's going to be in trouble.
Be aware that we will start to see a loss of power.
Please don't be like that early on in the Grand Prix there, Jeff, as Hamilton makes the move on Bottas. Oh, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact between myself and Carlos Sainz there, but I think we've both got away with it. Seems a bit odd at the start of the Grand Prix, but perhaps I was just trying to push my luck a little bit and have a look at the inside of the Spaniard here. Ferrari really haven't had this start to the season I'm sure they would have wanted, to be honest, but both Red Bulls just trying to streak away at the start of the Grand Prix. We absolutely all need to try and stay in the DRS early on in this race, but I don't really want to spend my day battling with Ferraris, things I never expected to say in the Williams Road to Glory there. So we've got yellow flags out. I think that's just Ricciardo causing an absolute train behind him here. He's using a bit of battery as we head down in towards the final chicane here, side by side with Carlos Sainz. And luckily for us this time round, the Spaniard backs out there as a huge wash of understeer out of the final corner. But Verstappen leads the way then at the end of lap 1. But we don't lose, we don't gain when all is said and done. Verstappen goes even faster, then down on towards a 10.4. We only go a couple of tenths away.
We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
The team reckon we have picked up a tiny bit of front wing contact then. Must have been with that little bit of rubber dues racing with Carlos Sainz. Isn't costing us much at all early on in the GP, but I'm thinking, you know, whether it's worth just getting the wing changed at the pit stops and then trying to just go through to, well, not quite go through to the end. Of course, we'll have to 2-stop this race unless I wanted to use a set of hards, but who would be stupid enough to do that on F1 2021? Just trying to make sure we stick within the range of Bottas early on here, and yeah, just don't over push the car either early on. The pace does slowly warm in with this Williams as we get used to it. As we found out at Monaco last time round, we kind of get quicker as at least Red Bull tend to get a little bit slower as races go on. Slowly getting up towards the gearbox then of Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix, but I've got to be careful here because we could both very easily end up outside of the DRS range if I try anything. Bottas, though, not very confident on his brakes. I clicked the wrong button! Oopsie daisy. Anyway, like I was trying to say, that we've got to be careful trying to go for a move on Bottas. There we go, new fastest lap.
Keep this up.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Yeah, got to try and be careful, though, making a move on Bottas, because I don't want to fall out of the range of Hamilton and Perez at the road. Verstappen seems to just be trying to check out early on in this race, so we might try and fight our way through these cars. Well, I have been amazed in just the way Verstappen, you know, after a couple of rough races to start the year, has just immediately bounced back immediately now, is reclaimed the lead of the Drivers' World Championship. I say reclaimed, I think it's the first time he's led the title all year, although he might have done after Shanghai. That's not the line through that chicane there, and that's just going to push us a little bit back. Team recommending new strats. They reckon it's worth double mediuming. I don't, but we'll get that sorted later on in the day. But we'll have to wait and see how the AI kind of change around their strategies, because I normally tend to extend the first stint here. Right, landed lap 6 then. Can we get a run on Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix? We need to do this pretty carefully though. We do not want to lose any speed there, as I thought Bottas just thought he was going to position his car a bit more defensively in towards the final chicane. So left with nowhere to go that time round. But we can't afford to keep wasting time behind the fin. Seem to be much more confident on the brakes. I guess he's just worried that maybe Hamilton will do something to Perez, and he just doesn't want to crash into his teammate. But might try and make a send down at the hairpin, because that's where I seem to be stronger. Yellow flag's out there, down at turn 1. It's one of the Aston Martins. Is it Zhou Guanyu at the Grand Prix? Yes, it is. Because again, just not getting the run through the chicane there. Just seem to really struggle to get it tipped in. So Zhou Guanyu out of his first Canadian Grand Prix.
There's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful.
Come on, Zhou, just please, just cause a safety car. We could do with that. Verstappen's trying to run away with it early, and I just haven't quite got enough overspeed down the straight to really make anything work on Bottas at the moment. But I feel like I am definitely getting stuck behind the Merc there. It's all really taking a lot of risks over the curbs through the final couple of turns there. Are we going to be able to have a look to the inside back at turn 1? Yes, we are. And finally now then, we make the move work on Valtteri Bottas. Crowd loving that. And now up into P4 then of the Grand Prix here, but still got a lot of work to do. So we'll on that later. Just trying to have a look, sort of sense where Hamilton's strong and where he isn't around this circuit. Again, I feel like it might be a similar story to Valtteri Bottas. This car very good on its brakes in comparison to a lot of the others around us. Is again not quite going to be able to get the run on the Merc. Verstappen though into the pits at the end of lap 8 there. So an early call then from the Dutchman, as all 4 of us though stay out in this Grand Prix. But Hamilton, he needs to get feisty with Checo Perez here, as Sergio now of course back into the lead of the Grand Prix. Sergio Perez still only has the 1 win so far this year, but he's been on the podium every single Grand Prix. It was a mighty impressive run of consistency, as you just see now. Still definitely got a little bit of life left in these tyres, and we're kind of just trying to explore the track, see if we can get any sort of run on Hamilton. I reckon we might see both Hamilton and Perez into the pits then at the end of this lap, so we need to be careful here, because I'm going to try and extend the stint ever so slightly longer here. We might go end of lap 10, end of lap 11, depending on what George Russell does. And as predicted then, they both dive it in. It always throws you off. And I've clicked the wrong button again. I haven't done this in so long on this game, but whenever I try and click DRS and battery at the same time, it's the bind to turn off my wheel. Right, well, I'm going to change the front wing then when we box at the end of this lap. Mainly for one reason. It's just the fact we can't seem to really get a massive overspeed on Hamilton and Bottas. So I'm hoping if we've just got that little bit extra through the corners, we might be able to just hang a bit closer and then be able to make runs here. I don't think it's going to give us much extra pace, but it might just give us that tiny little extra kick that we need here. But heading down in towards the pit lane then here at Canada. Can obviously stamp on those brakes super late in this Williams. Bottas, of course, yeah, boxing in behind us as Verstappen is going to re-emerge in the lead there. Unfortunately, Russell has pit as well,
coming in for his stop.
So we might just hold him up ever so slightly through the pit lane, unless, of course, the team can give us a really nice pit stop. Isn't going to be too great by the looks of it, as there goes Bottas. Come on, as we've definitely cost George a little bit of time there, but unfortunately it was a measure we had to take in this Grand Prix. Where are we going to re-emerge then? Actually going to be out around Carlos Sainz once more, so we're basically back to where we were on lap 1 of this Grand Prix, but we should have a slightly quicker car underneath us between now and the end. Right, all over the back of Carlos Sainz once more then, and let's put this theory to the test. He was actually one of the only cars I could get a decent run on out of this final hairpin and get properly past him by the time we got back down towards the start-finish line, but of course no DRS as well for the Spaniard. Oh, he's squeezed me right to the wall though once more.
Nice
we do make the move work. Absolute bravery and commitment there, and now back up into P7 then of the Grand Prix, but we've got to really fly along, get around all these slower cars, because we've still got a race victory potentially in the balance today. I feel like this car, yeah, comes alive during the races. It's all over the back then of Italian Jesus. Can we try and get a run? Oh, look at that. Gio, whoa! Oh, he comes right towards me there, and I think Gio got a little bit more scared of that than even I did. Almost took me out, but Bottas has gone on to softs again, so he's on a different strategy to the rest of us, but we do make the move work on Gio. Next up, Stroll. Canadian on a very, very worn set of the medium tyres, but in his home Grand Prix in the last Aston Martin in the running there, almost into his gearbox as we head out onto the back straight, but we do make the move work. Clean around the outside we go. And now back up into P5 then, at least where we should be in this race, but a bit of a gap now to the cars in front. As Bottas now sets a new fast lap of the Grand Prix. We're aiming for a sub-10 then by the end. So I actually go my new PB there, but of course helped by all the DRS. We're just trying to hit our marks at the moment then as we near the halfway stage of the GP. Hamilton and Perez still duking it out up the road, but Bottas and I are both closing in on the pair of them, two of the most experienced drivers on the F1 grid, of course Hamilton and Sergio Perez, but Verstappen's still looking comfortable out front as we are setting some really competitive lap times at the moment. Like I always say, this Williams, you get it comfortable, it does take about 20 laps of a qualifying an early race, but once you get it into a rhythm, this thing's a fast race car now, and I'm loving it. And that gap between Sergio and Max Verstappen definitely seems to be going up as well, though, at this stage of the day. So I wonder if Sergio's just got a few mechanical gremlins, a bit like we saw for the Dutchman last weekend at Monaco, and it's just not allowing Hamilton to try and get close enough still, because Bottas, I think, now is nestled inside the DRS.
0.5 a lap. Check your MSD for a new strategy option.
Team recommending a new strat. What are they saying?
Okay, copy that.
Lap 24 seems about right, but I'm going to be going on to softs again. Ooh, to the end, as that was a little bit of hesitation through the first chicane. For the first time then since the pit stops, we've got the DRS on this gaggle of cars again. They're sort of just not quite getting the run through that chicane once more. We'll have to use a splash of battery on the exit just to make sure we stick in the range. But I don't know. Look how much we're gaining down at the hairpin, first of all. But how is Hamilton not getting a run on Checo on the exit here? I mean, he's got the DRS, which should be a huge advantage. He's probably still got a slightly quicker car down the straights. Mercedes, theoretically, have got a much better car than Red Bull as well in this game, but it just doesn't seem to be materialising there as well. Bottas immediately, he doesn't want anything to do with us, just dives back into the pit lane, so he's going to be going on to a set of mediums towards the end of the day, but he might actually be able to get quite a nice little undercut on both Hamilton and Perez here, as long as he doesn't get held up in too much traffic. The race is really kind of spread out today in this one, as well. That was a lot of curb thing on the entry to the chicane there. As Perez, oh, he's on a set of softs as well then. So are we going to see Sergio Perez then into the pits at the end of this lap? Yes, we are. So I'm now going to move back up into the podium places then of this Grand Prix. And it's also unleashed Hamilton. Verstappen 5 seconds up the road. That is not an impossible gap to close up to by the end of the Grand Prix, especially if these two are both going to go on to another set of the medium tyres. But we need to try and move past Hamilton then. We've got good pace in the car. See, we've gapped Carlos Sainz by 10 seconds, basically a second a lap over the course of this stint. But we've got to try and make a move on Hamilton sooner rather than later. Right, come on then. First proper chance trying to get a run on Lewis Hamilton then, as we head out of the final hairpin. Hamilton no DRS though. Just moves around a little bit there. Had to sort of second guess what our fellow Brit was trying to do. But we do get it slowed down, and we do now move up into P2 then of the Grand Prix. And luckily we've still got the DRS's Verstappen in
We're approaching
very early.
You'll be on the softs.
So we now inherit the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix there, as we almost run wide down at turn 1. Just so I keep it between the white lines there and hang on to the place. But yeah, Verstappen in a lot earlier on than I was expecting, as I almost do a Sebastian Vettel through the next chicane, but we get away with it. Let's just keep our head down. 3 more laps before we pit again. So there we go, end of lap 22. Hamilton as well into the pit lane. So everyone is pitting around us at this stage of the day. We've just got to believe in our own strategy though, and fingers crossed don't get undercut. Verstappen, new fastest lap of the day there, and to be honest, I'm getting a little bit worried how close Hamilton was to us and how far behind Bottas and Perez he's come back out in this Grand Prix. He's a good 7 seconds back, so unless he did get held in the pit lane slightly, we might have a mammoth task to try and close up to Verstappen. Anyway, getting ready then to dive into the pit lane at the end of lap 24 for the second and hopefully last time in this Grand Prix. Again, just trying to be nice and aggressive on the way in there. 45 miles an hour by the time we get it slowed down. And where are we going to re-emerge? Fingers crossed it's around Bottas, but I'm worried it's going to be close to Hamilton there, as here comes Max Verstappen. back into the lead of the Grand Prix. No front wing change this time round. And a nice tidy 2.4 second stop. There goes Perez. Here comes Bottas. We might be close to Hamilton, actually, on the exit there, as Lewis sets new fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
Penalty for dangerous driving if you cross over into the track.
Super aggressive back down towards Salmon. We are going to be racing Hamilton on pit exit here, and are we going to be able to have a look to the inside? Oh, Hamilton, he really tried to defend the position with all his worth there, and that got very, very close between myself and our fellow Brit. Hamilton never won to give up on positions easily here in Montreal. Of course, often has gone well around this venue, but can we try and get a run to the inside now? We're going to have to send it a power move to the inside of Lewis Hamilton there. We take a lot of curb on the exit.
Good job. Nice overtake.
But team happy with the move there, and now we have got a big gap to try and close up to the top guys. But as long as we try and bag the fastest lap bonus point as well, this race is not over until right at the very end. As we head up towards the finish line then, end of lap 26. That's what I'm talking about, a 1:08.9.
That's a new fastest lap of the race.
So pretty much a second faster than anyone else has gone today.
Seconds.
George not having a fun day out of it though once more. I feel like I say that far too often in this career mode, but now we have got the grip, we have got the pace. We've also got yellow flags out, as I think one of the Ferraris has stacked it. That must be Charles Leclerc, who might be at the Grand Prix. We have got a safety car.
From the race. Okay,
is it safety car or is it VSC? It is a safety car.
Which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace. We've been informed that due to the increasing risks, they're moving from a virtual to a full safety car.
Now, on the one hand, that's quite good for us, because it'll bunch up the field, but on the other, if Verstappen and Perez and Bottas pit, and maybe even Hamilton as well, we might inherit the lead here, but they're going to then be on slightly fresher rubber to the very end. It is really just a case of what are all these guys going to do later on in the day. I really don't think there's any point in us pitting, but it is going to be critical here. Late on in the day, a dramatic safety car. I'm guessing Leclerc did what Lance Stroll did in the My Team series and just looped it round, but Verstappen stayed out, Perez has stayed out, Bottas has stayed out as well. I think, to be honest, for us, that is probably the better option. That might have worked out a bit nicer for me. Right, end of lap 30 then, safety car coming in, and we've got 5 laps to go here from the Canadian Grand Prix. Can we do the work? We had so much extra pace early on after we pit onto these tyres. We might have just lost a little bit of that advantage now, but I think this also could be quite critical because we've got 1 lap car in the way. Unfortunately, it's Nikita Mazepin, so Verstappen's going to try and utilise him to get a break for it at the final corner. And often takes these cars about a lap to get the tyres back up to temperature as well. There is fingers crossed Mazepin is going to move out the way. Oh, not very well though. Bottas not brave enough to go for it down at turn 1 on the Russian driver here. And now we're just really struggling off the restart. Try and put the power down up the hill. Hamilton gets boxed in a little bit further back. And that has been the dream restart then for both the Red Bulls in this Grand Prix. But we need to try and get this car up to temperature. Team saying manage the tyres, but they feel absolutely fine and they're pretty fresh still, so we shouldn't have any issues on them.
Is dropping back by about 0.3 a lap.
But we're only going to get DRS on the last couple of laps here, so we might have to now finally try and be brave on Bottas. If I can get a run through here, and you can just see the extra grip we've got on this set of tyres. I'm going to have to send it down to the hairpin. This could be make or break for not only the race, but also the championship. There is big brave send on Bottas there. That was a complete it's Bottas, you can send it kind of energy move. But back up into the podium places then.
Nice move.
Team loving that as well. But yeah, like I said, back up into the podium places here in the Canadian Grand Prix. Perez and Verstappen though. Will it be us? Will it be Red Bull? We've won all the races so far between us 3. And I think that's set to continue today, but who will it be? And this just kind of shows where Mercedes are blundering in comparison to Red Bull and ourselves. So the fact neither Bottas or Hamilton has really been able to switch it back on in the final few laps here really does paint the picture of Mercedes' struggles, but we've got so much battery we can utilise in these last few laps there. DRS now enabled.
DRS is now online.
3 laps to go then here from Canada, and we need to try and get past Checo this lap. It has to be this one if we want any shot at the win. Again, as we head down into the chicane, just how much time we're gaining on Checo Perez. We'll have the DRS on him on the exit, but I'm tempted again to send it in towards the hairpin. There we go, up the inside. Get it slowed down that time around. Was even tidier than the first one, and we don't get too much wheel spin on the exit, but we will still get the DRS there. So 2 laps to go of the Canadian Grand Prix. We absolutely need to try and get back within the range of Max Verstappen, but the gap, less than 2 seconds as well. That was a lot of curb through the final chicane. A little bit of a mistake there. The pressure is getting to me. We're coming towards the end then of lap 34, and at the moment we have now got back within the range of Max Verstappen, but since the start of this Grand Prix, the Dutchman has looked in complete control here in Canada. He's basically led from the start, and as we get in towards the final lap of the Grand Prix, Max Verstappen is still going to be leading, but in a similar way to how we did a lot throughout the second half of the race last time around at Monaco. We thought we had complete control there, and it all fell away on the very last lap. Verstappen and I haven't had too many last lap battles or battles at all in the My Team career, but we seem to have more in the Williams Road to Glory. But Hamilton now makes a move on Valtteri Bottas, so I think the Finn really struggling on his tyres. But are we going to try and get any sort of window to make a move work on Verstappen? Is this going to be redemption for Monaco last time around there, where we lost out to the win in the run to the line there? You can see these tyres just starting to give up now late on in the day, but we need to get a run out of the hairpin here. But Verstappen even, he'll have saved a bit of battery ready for this. You can see how hard the Red Bull's pushing on the final lap of this Grand Prix there. Big couple of kicks of oversteer as he tries to put the power down in towards the hairpin, get right under the gearbox. That Honda logo needs to stay as large as possible. Try to avoid wheel spin on the exit the hairpin there. You can see Verstappen, he'll pull away slightly, but he's having to save battery. He must have run out just a little bit early here. In towards the final chicane, Verstappen, he goes defensive. We get the car to the inside though, park it on the apex, and for the second time in 2 Grand Prix, it gets decided at the final corner, but we win here in Canada.
Thank you. I need a moment. Yes, you've done it. Well done.
So, another fantastic victory for Williams today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
Williams have put in an incredible performance out on the track today. I'm glad all the hard work of theirs has finally paid off. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They pushed and pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
Let's move on to the constructors. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, there we are then, guys, the end of the Canadian Grand Prix, and it's finally our second win of the year here in Canada and our third win for Williams in this Road to Glory. Verstappen P2, though, the second race in a row that's been decided by less than half a second at the checkered flag there in a last lap move between myself and the Dutchman there. Checo comes through for P3, ahead of Hamilton and Bottas there, with Sainz, Norris, Russell, Ricciardo and Gasly rounding out the top 10 there, but more dramatic scenes here at the end of the race. But an 8-point cut to Red Bull's advantage, or Red Bull's driver's advantage, at the top of the championship. And we only lose 3 points to them in the constructors as well, despite Russell having a bit of a poor weekend there. To be honest, I think, yeah, really at the constructors championship, our battles with Mercedes, if we can hang on to P2, I'd be rather happy there. But there's the rest of your finishers. Charles Leclerc and Zhou Guanyu both not making it through to the checkered flag there. Championship-wise, though, like I said, the gap does come down at the top. Verstappen takes the lead firmly now, 3 points ahead of Sergio Perez. We're just 26 back there, so the gap to Verstappen actually less than the gap back to Hamilton and George Russell here. Bottas jumps Charles Leclerc as well with that good result. Ricciardo jumps Gasly for 9th and 10th place there, and I don't think there's any of the movers further down the rostrum. Constructors-wise, though, 92 still the gap to Red Bull, but 34 now the gap to Mercedes. Sorry, 34 the gap to Mercedes at this stage of the campaign. So we're doing pretty well there. You know, we've sort of got to try and keep ourselves nice, clean and tidy and make sure, you know, we try and close up the gap to the Red Bulls in the Drivers' Championship. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like and get yourself subscribed. And we'll be back very, very soon. I think we're heading to La Castellane next. But again, like I said at Monaco, please don't hold me to that. We'll be back very, very soon, though, with more F1 content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.